Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about Chine, and that is something that we're using in this big print here. You can see the pieces of Japanese paper that have been tinted. There's actually a great big piece here, and then laid over the plate or the plate surface, and then it is printed through the press with the glue on it, and the two things are actually bonding together. All of this becomes quite confusing to a lot of people until they actually see it. And a lot of times if I explain it, it's one of these things, if we just do it, you'll see and you'll understand a little bit better. So essentially what we're doing is we're adding some structure to the piece by making these kind of shapes. And there's no way you're going to not have some sort of harder edges or the decal edges of the paper to show up, but it has a kind of collage effect. And what's really interesting about Chine is that it blends so beautifully with the actual printing. So my plan will be to print this kind of photo over this, and we'll get a kind of richness in these areas of the Chine parts. So we'll have lots of examples in the gallery to show you. Chine means China glue, and we're using a kind of methyl cellulose, which is a glue from the cotton linter plant, and it's mixed 12:1. So we'll go back to that in a minute. All right, now what I want to do is I want to continue the project of the multi-plate and try to incorporate the Chine into incorporating that with the pieces here, sort of like this piece here, and we'll print this through the video. Also, what I wanted to add was the fact that I could actually tint my own papers. It only took me about 20 years to realize that I didn't have to go to a store and buy a paper of a specific color to put it into my Chine, that I could actually watercolor the paper any color I wanted and cater it to the print. So lots of doors start opening as we keep an open attitude to all the different things that can be elements in. So first off, let's just take these pieces that seem to work, and I will look through them, through the light table, and then I can take a pencil and I will trace here my pieces. And this paper is a little bit thicker, so it's a little hard to see, but let's get a suggestion of it. So those will be the little socks, and then I'll take this bigger piece, put that down, and use this now for the skirt. So I can get a nice big piece of Chine here. And I want to use, maybe I'll just use this very pale pink here for the ruffles. And then underneath that, I'll take another piece and make these pantaloons, and the ruffles. So those will all be another piece. And this one on with thread, maybe we could use that as a... Okay. All right, so now we have our pieces and parts for the Chine, and maybe we could also consider some of these pieces and cut them up. It would be nice to have some sort of wing patterns in the background. So those are what we're going to work with for the Chine project. I'm going to just move this over, and we can now tint some of these, and we can even tint the wings as well. And when we tint, we'll still be able to see the pieces. Just cut these so they're a little easier to deal with here. Now, the best thing to use for this would be any of the water-based materials would be just fine. Again, staying away from acrylic, because acrylic does not glue well, as I said, with the methyl cellulose. and look at our key. So I'm looking at these different things and not getting too many different colors going on. And we sort of have a warm thing building up, so maybe I'll keep that going. Now what I'm doing here is just working right on some plexiglass. And as long as you're using plexiglass, everything is just fine. The fibers will get very weak when they are at this state, and then when they dry, they'll be a lot more solid, so that's just good. If you were using acrylics, I would warn you for working on plexiglass, because the acrylic will then stick to the plexi, and that can be very problematic for getting it off. Almost virtually impossible to get off a very thin piece. So staying away from the acrylic is a good idea. Well, we couldn't use that. Let's punch up the hair a bit. And maybe make this for the coat, the shirt. We can find some very rich blue with the Createx pure pigments. So that is this one here. So changing the pink. Anyway, this could be very loose, and you'll see in the gallery section that we have lots of artists working very loosely with Chine, as well as more refined. Let's make the wing, tint that too. Maybe just sort of pink in the sky here. So there's no reason why you can't use that. And you could work with archival papers, just as long as they're neutral pH in the Xerox machine. That would work just fine. Or even pieces of prints can be re-Chine. Generally, Chine paper should be thinner than the paper that you're gluing onto. So that is generally the way that works. All right, now what we'll need to do is let those dry. And once they dry, we can then cut them and glue them into the picture.